We're live.
Hello, I'm Sara MacLennan, and this is my partner, Sheldon Johnston. We are the owners of Liv Real Estate, and today we're talking about real estate careers and the pros and cons of joining a team as a real estate agent. So you've been running a brokerage for over 30 years. Let's get right into it. What are some of the pros of joining a team?
Yeah, there's some fantastic pros of joining a team. Number one thing is probably that they have a system of generating clients or generating leads, as they're called, for their team members, and they have the structures and processes in place to actually help that agent capitalize on those leads and those clients.
I think it's fair to say also, we're talking in generalities here, so not every team is the same. There's a wide variety.
Yeah, a vast array of the way teams are structured and how and where they get their leads or sources of business from too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But in general, I think a team leader has a vested interest in their agent's success.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they're not successful, then they're not converting on those leads, and therefore, they're not getting anything out of it either.
So what type of services and support will a team typically provide?
Well, obviously, we talked about probably one of the more important ones, because it's the biggest challenge for new people, is generally finding clients.
Yeah.
So from finding clients to coaching to preparation with scripts, working and maintaining their team CRM, to different accountabilities.
All right. So
yeah, that's a favorite in the industry, because obviously people do it differently. Some people are very intense on that and some aren't.
I see. So I've heard this phrase, a super team, being thrown around lately. What is a super team, and how do they differ?
Well, it's a fairly new thing, but it's getting a lot of discussion, because as teams have developed, you've seen a graduation from like the team of 3 to 5 people to these really big teams of 14 to 60 people in some cases. So, a super team is generally a team that has, 15 or more agents that work inside their team, which works inside a brokerage.
Okay. And what other additional services would they offer?
Oh, I mean, they may have a little more administrative capacity or functions. They may have some in-house photographers. They may have a handy person, a stager of their own that they work with, or different in-house experts. Like some will call them ISAs, others will call them client service managers.
So it sounds like joining a team could be a great way to learn the business and gain valuable experience. And by the way, if you're watching and you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. We can answer them live. And of course, we can answer them after if you're watching the recording of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to take some questions.
All right. So we've talked about the pros of joining a team.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of the downsides of joining a team. What's the most common reason you hear agents giving for why they've left a team?
Well, the most common reason we're approached for agents who are leaving a team is the compensation. Okay. So most of the teams reside inside a brokerage, so they pay the brokerage fees and splits, and then they also have to pay their team leader their fees and their splits. So from a compensation point of view, the equation is simple. You get lots of experience and you learn great processes, but it's a fairly high cost structure, which doesn't necessarily allow the new agent to invest in developing their own business and investing in their future.
Which leads me to my next question. Can an agent really build their own business as part of a team?
Generally, no. I mean, most teams that I've seen have agreements that basically says the lead is owned by the team leader. And so you can never actually own that lead that you work with, that you're given to. So even if you've done 2 or 3 transactions with that person and have a relationship, it's still the team leader that would get compensated. Even if you leave the team, those team leaders are still compensated vis-a-vis the contracts that they originally signed.
Through a referral.
Through a referral, non-compete type of arrangement.
Also, a lot of times I've seen where there's agents that are assigned specific roles. So let's say
Yep.
you're a buyer's agent and you've developed a relationship with a person, and then a few years later they decide to sell their house. What happens?
Yeah, it's an interesting setup. I mean, I recall from when my dad started in real estate in the 60s, they used to have this thing where he couldn't sell property south of the river because the company he is with had an office south of the river. And it's kind of that mentality that they're going to take that client and give them to somebody else, even though you have the relationship with them. So from two perspectives, I think it's not a great system because one, you're passing off your relationship that you've worked hard to develop. And two, you don't necessarily have that person going to someone who has the right skill sets or relationship with the client. So,
yeah. And I think in our experience, the client is really choosing to work with the agent more than they're choosing a team or a brokerage.
Yeah, absolutely. They come in because of, like, for example, what we do is we generate a lot of leads. They come in because of that. But ultimately, it's the connection with the individual, the agent, the way they're able to service them and also look after their best interests that really keeps them, working with that person.
So how important is culture and collaboration?
Oh, I think it's huge. I mean, from a growth point of view, collaboration is huge. But from a longevity point of view, for someone coming into the business, the culture is extremely important. So if the mindset of the team leader is that they are like, it's all about me, and it's not really designed about your growth, then that's obviously going to be an inhibitor in terms of growth. If the mindset is that, you win by helping others, then there's an opportunity that you will also not only have some success, but also grow in addition.
Interesting. So do you find that if a brokerage or a team is more transactionally focused, does it lead to a bit of a revolving door or a turnover rate?
Well, I mean, there's a fairly high, what they call churn or turnover rate in the industry anyways. The failure rate is pretty high within the first 2 to 3 years. And that's a failure on the industry and also the way that people enter into the industry. And then you get into the team scenarios, and depending on, what's required from an accountability point of view of the individual agents to handle the team business, there might be, eventually some value shifts with the new agent.
Okay. All right. So we've looked at the pros and cons of working on a team.
Yes.
So if an agent needs that additional training and support and help finding clients to work with, is there an alternative?
Yes, there are. I mean, there's companies like us that are basically a hybrid between a team and a brokerage. And I think this is also a new development along with the super team. You could almost say we're a super team, but we're not. We're not run like that, because the biggest difference with us is that when we pass business on to our agents, that's their business. They don't end up paying us a lead fee on that business time and time again. And even if they left us, that client goes with them. And so,
just like we said earlier, the client relationship is really with the individual.
Yeah.
We're just recognizing that fact.
Well, we recognize that fact. And I mean, that's what really incents the person to give their most to their client is they know that that person is working with them. And so they're going to continue to invest in that relationship. We're definitely a relationship-driven company.
Absolutely. So we intentionally built this hybrid teamerage model.
Teamerage, okay.
Many agents have found great success with it. So what do you do to help our agents succeed?
Oh, I mean, I think the first thing is just determining that there's an exceptional fit. Because if you're not in alignment with your broker and your broker's not in alignment with what you're trying to do, then their ability to help you grow is going to be limited. I mean, just depending on the type of marketing and stuff you're wanting to try and do. But that alignment, that exceptional fit I think is a very important aspect. The second is obviously when we're looking at bringing these people on to work with us is doing a skill assessment. What do they need? And then, once we establish what that is, then building a roadmap on how do we do that. So it's kind of a comprehensive. And then after that, once you've got that roadmap built, then it's connecting that person with the right mentor who is a highly productive and engaged person. And then the over training that we provide. Our philosophy is really to take someone who's brand new and turn them into somebody who feels like they've been in the business for 3 years, from a confidence point of view and from the consumer's point of view as well.
And what if someone's thinking about switching who already has experience?
Well, it just depends on what they're looking for. A lot of agents today have a huge challenge generating their own business or their own clients. And that's something that we don't have a struggle with. So we can help and assist those clients and then show them how to grow their business in different channels in different ways. I think there's also, for example, our average agent, does maybe 20 transactions in a year or more than that, has a lot more experience than an agent who's only done 8 transactions in a year for the last 3 years.
3 years, right.
So, years in doesn't necessarily equate to experience. It can, but not always.
So how are agents able to build their own business at Liv Real Estate?
Well, the first aspect of it is once we've trained them and we'll put them in front of the consumer, is that we have a tremendous amount of website traffic that we're able to generate leads from. And I should explain, there's a difference between what companies say are leads and training. In some cases, what they call leads are forced registrations. And this is when a consumer is on a website and looking at a property, and then they're forced to sign in to see that property. That's a forced registration. Then they're attached to an agent, and then the usual experience is a lot of pain for that consumer because they're going to just be inundated with a person contacting them. Ours is not, we don't deal with forced registrations we don't deal with forced registrations at all. We don't make people register. So our leads are generally people who are looking to view a property, want more information about the process of buying or selling, or want to see a property. So.
I think we've talked about the onboarding process. Was
Sure.
there anything else you wanted to add to it, or?
No, I think it's different for each individual. We've had different individuals come from different industries, some from the service sector who don't really need to have an understanding of the socialization aspect of, working with people and different personalities. And then we've had others that have come from, other industries, maybe an engineer or teacher that needed some process assistance with creating their own processes. So.
I just wanted to say thanks, Elena. She says one of the many things I love about Liv is that she hates forced registration. So thanks, Elena. What about ongoing training for new and experienced agents?
Well, I think, we're a firm believer in what I call Kaizen. It's a Japanese philosophy on growth. And if you don't grow, you're dying. And so we very much believe in that. Even our experienced people need to grow, and there's different people at different levels. And so we're constantly bringing in, I would say, what we call best in class trainers. In the last 6 months, we had Matthew Ferrara speak. Mm-hmm. He's a philosopher and a well-known real estate speaker. We've had people coming in and speaking on building relationships through personality science, mastering client negotiations. We've had some fitness and lifestyle seminars done for our agents. We have a performance psychologist that we work with who is currently doing sessions on anxiety and our clients' anxiety, especially as we're going through COVID, because there's a lot of things that you need to help recognize. It's just not business as usual right now. So
speaking of COVID, we are partners in business and in life. So that's why we're able to
we have kids
sit here so
close. Why we're sitting so close.
With no masks on.
Yeah.
Scott Gordon says, I'm just getting my license. I'd love to come talk with you guys. We'd love to talk with you too, Scott. I think one of the big things is that we can start training you while you're still in the licensing program?
That's generally our preference, is that we want to work with people as they're going through. I think the traditional model of getting into real estate is broken, where you get your license and then all of a sudden you get your brokerage, and then you start learning how to do things through their systems and processes, and also trying to find clients, because it just takes time, and that's really what all you have is some time.
And I think a lot of that is why in real estate school they tell you to expect not to make a sale for 6 months.
Yeah, and that's definitely been one of my pet peeves for a long time. I always tell our people is to be prepared to make a sale within, at any time. Be prepared to survive until you do. But I think the longest we've had someone go before they've assisted somebody on a transaction is about 2 months. And that's because, we put a lot of time and effort in up front, so that, we have that opportunity for success, as opposed to just hoping it goes together and learning on the fly all the time. Basically, which is how I learned. We're basically created a system of everything how I learned is not the way we're doing it. I was basically,
that applies with our kids too.
Yeah. I was basically given a telephone book in real estate, and my broker, who was my dad, said, okay, start making calls. And I was like, what? That's it? That's what you do? So yeah, we've tried to. That was a long time ago. Yeah, we've tried to up the ante a little bit.
Do you offer business coaching?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we're always doing with our agents who've been with us for longer than a year. And it's very personalized, because everybody has their own different vision of what success is for them. Mm. So I look at it as, if I was to look at our people, I look at them as like high performance athletes. So we don't just take a plan that everybody does and go with that plan for them, because they all have different skill sets and they all have different things that they want out of this. Some really want to grow their business into teams, and others want to just, grow their source of past client and referrals, so that they have a sustainable, stable income.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people will shift. You're always talking about this shift from working 100% with leads and then building up that past client referral business. Yeah,
so for us, I mean, obviously when people join us, they get a lot of leads that they can work with. And the idea is that if you do an exceptional job, then you have the ability to create past clients. And so, I mean, learning how to give that client experience so that the client is like, whoa, I really like that person, want to work with that person again. Yeah. So what happens is you end up building your business up to a level and generating leads, and you start to get more and more past clients. So we call that a channel. And as you grow those different channels, whether it be marketing, networking, or other, what tends to happen is either you get serious, and at this point you've got both levels really high, and you have an assistant. Maybe you're bringing on a buyer's agent to assist you, because again, now you're starting to get more and more or have less and less time. Or some people choose to simply, offset where the source of income comes from. They're not interested in maintaining and sustaining a high level of leads. They want to just deal with past clients. And again, that just really depends on the goals of the individual. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So before we sign off, do you have any more advice for agents considering joining a team?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, the most important thing is have conversations with the other team members to see what it really is. What are the leads? How do they get them? What's the process around, that? What happens if you end up going to another brokerage? And to be honest, the last thing you really want to do is in the first year switch brokerages. So do take your time and do your research, because this is probably the one time where you can do that, is get your research done up front so that you've got a great fit, and go for a great fit, not just because someone's nice. It's helpful that they're nice. That's good. There's a lot of good brokers out there, and there's a lot of good team leaders out there that are nice, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good fit and that your values align and that they're willing to do or go with you on that journey of your success as well.
Awesome. Well, as I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments or reach out to us directly. And yeah, thank you for joining us today for our chat about joining a team or going it alone. Have a great day.
Yeah, have a great day. I believe someone asked. You can just send me an email at sheldon@livrealestate.ca, and then we can start a conversation and take it from there.
All right.
Take care.